Welcome, welcome. My name is Amy Charlton, Best Friends Digital Community Outreach Manager, and I am excited to bring to you our November's live Power Hour on Unleashing the Power of Planned Giving with Karen Gallardo and Trish Tolbert. We're very grateful to them to be here with us and for the opportunity for all of you who also took the time out of your day to be on this call and learn, and the opportunity to ask questions live and in the moment. Before I turn the time over to them, just a few housekeeping items. On the right-hand panel, down at the very bottom area, there is a questions section that you can maximize by clicking on the arrow there. That is where you would chat in your questions, and we will make sure that those get surfaced during in the moment, and whenever those questions come to you, we'll make sure that the experts are aware of those. We'll also provide some time, typically we have some at the end as well, to ask any additional questions that might not have been answered throughout. So without further ado, we'll turn the time over to Karen and Trish. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Amy. Welcome, everyone. This is Karen Gallardo, and I am calling in from Arlington, Virginia, where we had a little surprise snowstorm sneak up on us. An early snow, it's going to mean for a crazy winter, I have a feeling, but just wanted to let you know that I'm seeing white out my window, and I am so appreciative that y'all took the time to join us. A little background on me, and then I'll let Trish introduce herself. I've been in fundraising for more years than I will share, but it's been a long time, and I had the privilege of being able to start specializing in planned giving in the late 90s. And I've been leading the Best Friends Planned Giving program for the last 4 years, and I really enjoy just demystifying planned giving and making it as accessible and easy to understand for all of us. It is such an important opportunity. I hope that through this conversation, Trish and I can leave you with just a few good ideas that you can put into practice or plan to put into practice, and we look forward to get starting. So Karen Gallardo, Best Friends Animal Society, and Trish, will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I surely will, and I have the flip side of Karen's weather. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee today, but we have black ice in places for the first time in years. So I hope wherever you are listening that you're having better weather than we are. I'm a member of the Shelter Outreach Team, and we exist. We've just been around for a year. We exist to provide resources of many types to municipal shelters and other key partners. And we do that in the form of training programs, embedding staff, assessments of field and shelter operations, and mentoring. And my role specifically is to help bring the fundraising lens to all of those programs and initiatives. Like Karen, I've been doing a variety of fundraising for quite a long time, some with large organizations, sometimes as a coach or consultant, but I've also worked as the ED of a startup. So I know what it's like when you have to put your desk together in the morning and go and talk the mayor into something in the afternoon. I started in planned giving also back in the 90s, so have seen that change over time. It's probably my favorite type of fundraising to do because done well, it takes you into the deepest parts of people's hearts and helps you set up their legacy as well as great gifts for your work. And I actually met Karen when we were both doing planned giving at the Nature Conservancy. So I'm thrilled to be with her and delighted to help unleash the power of planned giving this morning.
Excellent, Trish. Thanks so much. And yes, you are a fantastic co-collaborator and co-creator. So I look forward to tag teaming with you and making sure that we share just a little bit of what we've learned over the years. We are going to go through, let me find my mouse and click to the next slide. There we go. All right, so today we're going to just talk about what it is, why we should care. Then we're going to start debunking those common myths and give you a few ideas if you are thinking about starting a program or taking your program to the next level of where you could get started. Sound good? Excellent. So let's say, if somebody were to ask you, what is plan giving? Sometimes that term plan giving can be really technical, or people will be like, I don't know what that is. In the simplest term, it is a gift in a will, trust, or a beneficiary of a financial account. And people often use these interchangeably. So you will hear us talk about gifts in a will, and that kind of fills in the blank for all those other types of gifts that can be made. But this really is the most common type of a planned gift is a gift in a will. We also work with gifts of assets. So it may be real estate, it may be appreciated stocks, it could be a business. And some of these gifts really all do come to fruition. Most of them come to fruition at the point of someone's death. We will say it's called planned because there's often a lot more thinking and planning that goes into these types of gifts, and sometimes even requires the help of a specialist, whether that is the attorney, an accountant, or a financial advisor.
Karen, I know you're going to talk a little bit later about some of the simple ways to get started with plan giving, but I just want to say, in case anybody out there got a little nervous when we said assets or talking about death or financial advisors, I just want to reassure people that there's a whole continuum of plan giving, and you can start at a place that is simple and where you have the bandwidth of staff or volunteers to do it. So hang in there. Don't be concerned about if it looks complex, because you can work at any level of the plan giving pyramid.
Thank you, Trish. Absolutely. And continue to remind us when we're getting into the more complex area, because this really is about making it as simple and easy to understand, and also easy to convince others in your organization why you may want to be involved in this. And here are a couple statistics about the amount of money that is transferred to charitable organizations each year through gifts in a will. And it is a significant amount of money. The other thing that we say, these are major gifts, and they just may occur at the end of someone's lifetime rather than a current major gift. But the average bequest or average gift in a will for most organizations is between $25,000 and $100,000. That's a significant and major gift, and anyone can make one. So here are just a couple stats if you needed to help convince somebody as to why we should care about these types of gifts, why we should be considering promoting these types of gifts. The bottom line is it's a lot of money is coming to charitable organizations across the country, and we should all be positioning ourselves to receive a little bit of that. And Trish, I will just pause at the end of each slide if there is something you want to add.
Sure, be glad to. I just want to call out several of our partners who are courageous enough to be thinking about launching plan giving programs in Forsyth County in North Carolina. I know you're out there listening. I hope Pearl River in Mississippi is, and maybe even Memphis is listening too. So I hope that you guys who are thinking about this will also speak up throughout Karen's presentation. You can do that through the chat function.
Excellent. So let's take a little closer look at who are plan giving donors. And the part that I like about this is it's you and I. It is people who look like us. It is not necessarily the wealthiest donor or the wealthiest individual in your community, but it's the person who likes you the most. And it's that true believer of somebody who just believes so much in the work of your organization. We also find that plan giving donors are regular, consistent donors. They may make modest and smaller gifts annually throughout their lifetime, but they make those consistent gifts year after year and just care so much about your organization. This is going to be the most technical slide that we go over in this whole presentation, but I think it's important for everyone to have a little bit of comfort and familiarity with the way that organizations and causes are named in a will. So there are 4 different types: specific, percentage, residual, and contingent. A specific gift is just what it sounds. I give my house to Best Friends Animal Society, or I give $10,000 to 3 of my favorite causes. So it's calling out a specific either asset or a specific amount. The next type is a percentage gift. I give 10% of my overall estate to my charitable causes. I give 100% of my estate to my favorite cause. The next gift is a residual. And what that means is after I give my specific gifts, perhaps to my sister, my brother, my daughter, my grandchild, or my favorite organizations, what is left over then is distributed. So you could make several specific gifts to people or causes, or then say after everything has been specifically given away, what's left over goes to your organization. The final type is a contingent gift. And that means it's contingent upon something else happening. So it may be contingent upon if I survive my husband, then my entire estate goes to my favorite causes. If he's still living, then it has a different plan. So it's contingent upon something happening first. Would anyone like to guess? Go ahead, Trish.
I was just going to say, do you have any thoughts about, you know, what's best for the donor, best for the organization, especially between those first 2?
That's a good question. My thought is that people sometimes underestimate the size of their estate, that the value of their house, or maybe their retirement plan or their portfolio has gone up. And so sometimes when they give a specific gift, it actually, their estate is much larger and they probably could have given a bigger gift. So I think sometimes for the organization, a residual gift or a percentage gift ends up being a more impactful gift and helps save the lives of many more animals.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so again, that was the most technical slide of this whole presentation. So I hope that you were with us on that, and then let's move on to some more lighter things. This is the legal description for Best Friends Animal Society. And the reason that we put this in here is this is where it really starts. You need to know, how do you want your organization to be named in a will or a trust? Or even this last line, the tax identification number, is what is used in those beneficiary designation forms that might be on an IRA or a 401k or a bank account. So having this legal description prepared and available so your organization is named properly and it isn't confused with another organization, making it easy and available for donors and also for any advisors. I was at a luncheon yesterday where an attorney spoke, and he said, you know, I try and find things on people's websites and it's not always easy. So having this legal description developed, ready, available, and easy to find is one of the very first steps in getting yourself prepared when someone does ask you about how would I name your organization in my will.
this is the first of just 4 things, folks, that Karen and I have listed on our tip sheet that you'll need to create to get yourself started with a basic bequest program. So just looking at this example that Karen has here, removing our info and putting yours in, you've already got 25% of what you need to get started created.
Excellent. And then let's talk about, why do people actually start doing their planning? And what we've learned is that there are life events that happen. Most of us aren't walking around saying, oh, I really need to get my estate plan done, or I need to write a will, I need to create a plan. You know, most of us are doing all the great work that we do and tending to our families and our animals, etc. But then we have a life event that happens and gets us thinking about, oh, I better get this done, or I need to get this done. Here is a list of life events that tend to trigger planning. I was speaking with someone recently whose mother had passed away, and her plans weren't in very good shape. And she said, I don't want to leave that mess to anyone else. So that was what triggered her planning to get done. I chuckle. This last bullet above the line in the list, a big trip. We've also talked to a number of people who say, I'm going to Scotland, or I'm going overseas on a trip, and I want to make sure my estate plan is done. And I think, especially in the DC area, those same folks are often driving on the Beltway regularly, which I think is a lot more dangerous than going overseas. But anything that inspires and triggers planning and allows us to have that conversation about making sure the favorite causes and the volunteer work that you've done are also included as part of your legacy and in your plan, it's a great thing to be able to capitalize on. And in order to make sure that the message is somewhat front and center when one of those life events happens, the plan giving message and marketing is often dripped out there. It's just repeated in all the different places that you can put it. It might be in a mail piece, it might be in a PS, in all of your publications, between stories about donors who've done it, both living and also tributes to perhaps someone who's passed away. It can be in brochures. It can be discussed in different meetings. It can be celebrated through particular volunteers. If you've got a newsletter, little ads can be created. But you want to make sure that you're repeating it regularly enough so when the time is right and that life event happens that starts to trigger planning, the donors that you're talking to remember your organization is interested in these types of gifts.
Karen, we do have a question that came in via the chat screen. It's kind of a general question about whether or not you have seen an increase over the years wherein people are paying more attention and including pets in their estate plans. Have you seen an increase in that type of giving? And then she wanted to clarify, meaning where will they give in their estate plan, but an animal is a part of the gift. I don't know if I said that right. Kim, I might need to unmute you so you can clarify too. But.
So Amy, let me talk a little bit about seeing more provisions in plans that include care of their pets and providing some resources for their animals. Absolutely, I'm seeing more and more of that. I'm sure some of it is because I'm in this work with animal welfare organizations, but also everybody knows that more and more people believe their animals are their family and part of their family. And so if you're planning, you're making sure that you've got someone who's going to take care of them, and that they have the resources they need to take care of them. And one of our tools that we're providing is a simple one-pager called Planning for Your Pets. So that is one of the resources that we will be distributing as part of this Power Hour.
Thank you. Kim, I unmuted you if you have anything that you want to follow up with for clarification. Did that help answer your question? Kim, are you there?
Yeah, she typed in the chat box too.
Yes, okay, got it.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Thanks, Kim. Do we have any other questions before we move into the myths and debunking these myths? I'm not seeing anything else come up in the chat box, but please do go there and use those questions. So let's go into our myths and let's take care of these right away. Okay, we do hear this. It's too complicated. And back to what Trish had led into, it doesn't have to be. It can be as simple as naming your organization for 10% of my IRA, my 401k. That requires getting a beneficiary designation form from the financial administrator of that plan and writing down the name of your organization in the beneficiary section, including the tax ID number. That's pretty simple, sending it back in, signing it and sending it back in. Same with gifts in a will. They can be quite simple. So anytime somebody says it's too complicated, it doesn't have to be. Myth number 2, we don't know any high net worth or rich donors. We have a lot of volunteers who give of their talents and maybe don't have a lot of money. But here's that thing again, plan giving donors are any one of us has the ability to make a major gift, a lovely gift, a significant gift that can have a huge impact on the mission of your organization when they no longer need that money to provide for their day-to-day needs. So every donor has the potential to make a planned gift. And a lot of these gifts do come from people who are consistently just lovely annual donors that give $25 a year. The other thing I would say is that, again, because so many people view their animals as their family or their children, including myself, who has 2 dogs, Bogey and Mulligan, my 4-legged children, that people without children make the largest and most wonderful planned gifts. So if you have people that you're working with that they don't have children, that's a great person to start this conversation with.
Karen, I just want to call out that second bullet that you had about some of the biggest gifts coming from donors who give 25 consistently, because I hope that gives some hope to people who are in small towns or very rural areas. All of us, unfortunately, will pass away at some point. Not all of us will have the opportunity to make a real statement about the meaning of our life, but this is one way that people, even with small assets, can do that. So I think plan giving is so often a missed opportunity because people do invest in this myth. And I hope that everybody, given whatever your market is, how large, how small, how urban, how rural, will sit down and think about who loves us most, who are the true believers in what we do, and am I building relationships with them that would encourage them to think about this kind of very meaningful gift.
Thank you, Trish. I was talking to someone yesterday who worked for a library at a university, and the local public librarian ended up making a $200,000 gift to the university library, and no one had any idea that that person had that ability to do that. So it's absolutely correct. All right, so myth number 3, death. I don't want to talk about death. And I want to just reassure everyone that I rarely talk about death. I may mention it and you know that some of these gifts come to fruition at someone's death, but I'm not talking to donors or to volunteers and saying, well, are you thinking about your death? Are you planning for your death? I'm talking about their legacy and the causes that have been important to them throughout their lives, and getting plans in place so that they've taken those steps and really taken control of what they want to see happen and not leaving it up to someone else. So let's debunk that myth that we are not talking about death, and we instead are talking about legacy. We're talking about favorite causes, things, the changes that they'd like to see in the world that they may be able to affect through their gifts in their will. Myth number 4, I'm not an expert. I'm afraid to bring this up. What if they start asking really technical questions that I don't know the answer to? You do not have to be an expert. Part of our job is just planting these seeds and finding the resources or access to resources that if someone did ask you a question that you didn't know the answer to, you can say, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know someone who does. I'm sure you have volunteers. You may be able to put together a small committee that can help with this. The community foundations in all of our communities are excellent resources. And then as we build this digital community, we really also want to build networks and resources for us to call on. So someone on this call could also be a resource to you. You do not have to be an expert.
Karen, can you talk a little bit more about what a community foundation is for those that aren't quite sure what is meant by that terminology?
Certainly. Thank you, Amy. So right here in Arlington, we have the Arlington Community Foundation, and it is a nonprofit organization that donors make gifts to. They have a staff. They're really seeking what are the priorities in the community, and they make grants. Sometimes the donor says, I want to work on animal welfare in Arlington, and their program staff may know of your organization, of Best Friends, of another animal welfare organization that's doing really creative life-saving work, and introduces that donor to that organization. But the community foundation is addressing the needs in the community, the interests of the community, and also they are other experts in philanthropy, and many have people on their staff who assist donors in setting up gifts that can benefit your organizations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, last myth. We need money today. It's going to take way too long to see this type of support come to fruition. And it may take a little while for this to come to fruition. But if you don't start planting these seeds, you're never going to know the amazing impact that a planned gift could have on your mission. And in fact, at the same luncheon I referenced earlier, I ran into a former colleague who said she just joined a new organization as their director of plan giving. And she asked the CEO why they're leading with this type of fundraising. And the CEO, a female, answered, because if we don't start this today, we're never going to start to see the rewards from this type of fundraising. And we've got people who I know would like to support us in this way. So, you know, this is the one thing. A lot of people that I talk to say, yes, I know we should be doing this. I have it on my to-do list. I don't know when I can dedicate the time because I have X, Y, and Z immediate and urgent that I need to get at. But if you don't start it, it's going to take even longer to pay off. And the other thing that I want to emphasize is plan giving is not an either or proposition. And by that I mean people are not saying I'm either going to make a gift today or I'm going to make a gift in my will. It's a both and. And why wouldn't we ask our most loyal donors and investors in our mission, our supporters, to make an investment in the future of our organization? We've also found that people who do name charities in their plans increase their current giving because they're so much more invested in the success of your organization. So this is not an either or proposition, and this is why it's important to get started on it today.
I think that's so true, Karen. And in fact, one of the most rewarding gifts I ever closed was working with a woman there in Northern Virginia who had committed $250,000 to something that was going to happen after her passing. And over the years, we stayed in touch with her. This was a particular set of scholarships for people from other countries. And she grew more and more interested in how the program would take shape. And then when the stock market allowed her to feel comfortable that she had the assets, she decided to make that $250,000 gift outright while still leaving the gift in her estate plan. So again, to the point of when things take longer, it actually may benefit you. You just never know. And any effort you make to build relationships with these folks now will not be wasted at all.
I love that example, Trish. And I am seeing that even in best friends where someone says, I've got this in my will, but I want to be a part of what you're doing today. I want to accelerate some of this. I want to see the impact of my gift today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of this now because I feel like I can. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So how do we get this conversation started? This is one of my favorite things in response to a frequent comment. I would love to do more, but, and then you wait for what comes after the but, fill in the blank, I would love to do more, but I'm helping my grandchild through college right now. Or I would love to do more, but I'm saving for this, or I have to do a renovation, whatever is after the but that frequently comes up. So the nice part about that is you can say, would you consider making a gift in your will? If you really would love to do more, here's a way that you can do more, and you're continuing your support of our organization. Some other conversation starters. Have you ever considered a gift to fill in the blank in your will? I like this next one because this normalizes it. Many donors leave a gift to us in their will. Would you consider this type of gift? It puts that donor in the group of other people. We also ask, what causes have been important to you in your life? Would you like to make them part of your legacy? You can start the conversation with, have you made charitable gifts in your will or other financial plans? And then this last one I like to add in because when someone does tell you that they've done it, first of all, you say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's amazing. And then as you're stewarding that relationship and building that relationship, you may want to also ask, are there provisions that we should know about in advance to make sure that we're able to fulfill your wishes?
Karen, one thing I want to ask about on behalf of some of those folks listening, are there ever times, either with best friends or in your other experience, that you've had to either decline a gift, or what the wishes really put you in a challenging situation? What advice would you give to people who might not have your experience and might have folks who come with some interesting caveats to the gifts they want to make?
Oh, that's a great question, Trish. I think the first advice is, you know, be prepared to be surprised, because the majority of the gifts, people that really are the true believers in your organization will say, I trust you to use this where this is needed most. And so many, many, many plan gifts come unrestricted, where the need is greatest. And then there are others that come with interesting requests and designations and restrictions. And that's why it is important to see if there are provisions that we should know about in advance. At Best Friends, I can think of a gift that came that was designated for use in the state of Kentucky. And we had a wonderful community cat program throughout the whole state of Kentucky. So we were able to use that gift in the state of Kentucky. But it did take us a moment to say, can we do programmatic work designated to the state of Kentucky? There may be some other times. We had a proposal for a gift where they wanted blankets with a name of their beloved pet to go out as part of the adoption program. With every animal that was adopted would get this blanket. And that sounds like a really, really lovely idea, but as we started talking about, would we be able to fulfill that? Are we, do we have the ability to make sure we can meet that donor's wishes and fulfill on those promises? And this does sometimes require a little bit of thoughtful thinking. And, you know, the best part is if you can have these conversations about what someone's really, really interested in while the donor is alive, you can talk about the goals of your organization and where they align with the goals of the individual donor. Trish, what about yourself? Have you had any that you came across that made you raise an eyebrow or go, I'm not so sure we could do that?
You know, I haven't had one at Best Friends. In my previous life, I did have someone who wanted to give a piece of real estate, but they wanted our organization to continue operating the nudist camp that was on it, and we just couldn't do that. So being surprised took a real turn on that one. That's probably the most extreme. I think you're just being prepared. I do recall working with a woman who had been diagnosed with cancer, and I think these are some of the hardest. I mean, hopefully people contact us and make these gifts while they're still in good health and have many years ahead. But every now and then, if you have a program, a plan giving program, you will be contacted by someone or a family member or a legal or representative who says that death is imminent. And so I remember really wondering how appropriate it was to reach out to this person. We knew each other. We'd had a couple of lunches together. We did not know each other well. And interestingly, because of the animal connection, the one thing I knew that she would know I was truly caring about was her dog, Barkley. And I just rang her and said, Jean, I'm just heard the news about your diagnosis. I'm thinking of you and Barkley. If there's anything the two of you need, just let me know. And I was serious about that. I'd have taken Barkley if she needed me to. And of course, Jean being Jean had made great preparation for Barkley, and in fact wanted to give my organization some serious money. And when she said, "Can you come and see me?" I thought I was getting Barkley, and instead we got a big gift. That certainly doesn't happen all the time, but I guess I mentioned that just to say the surprises can go both ways. So one of the key factors about plan giving, I think, is there will always be some ambiguity, and you prepare as best you can, and then you do good listening and roll with what you hear.
I love that, Trish. We did have an example come in our question chat area about Wendy Kang, and she says that often they have donors who want them to guarantee a live outcome for their pets if they leave a gift in their will. As an open admission shelter, she feels like she can't always make this promise without regard to the animal's health or behavior, and is curious how you would recommend addressing something like this.
Karen, you want to talk about the lifetime care program and some of the challenges you all face with that? I think that's relevant to this question.
I think so, Trish. And many organizations do have some type of lifetime care program. They are often structured where a donor will make a gift of a certain amount. Organizations choose what the appropriate amount is for their organization, and in exchange for that gift in their will and enrollment in the program, the organization will rehome, will care for that individual's animals should they predecease their animals. And then it really follows the guidelines of your organization. So Best Friends has a lifetime care program in which if someone is enrolled and has a provision in their plan, we will bring the animals to the sanctuary. We will evaluate them for medical, behavior, emotional, and our goal as an organization is to then have those animals adopted and found a new forever home as quickly as possible. If that's not possible, they can live out their lives at Best Friends. So the advice or let me, before I directly answer or give advice on this particular situation, I do want to go back to what Trish was saying about the challenges of this program. That can be challenges. It can be wonderful, and it can be a challenge in that it's often unexpected. You get a call from someone who says, this individual passed away, they were in lifetime care, they have 3 cats that are still living, and you need to make arrangements to come and pick them up and transport them or get them and make sure they're doing okay. So it can be unexpected. It can be hard to make those arrangements quickly. If you've got any type of space issues, that can always be a challenge. And also it's emotional for the family members or the friends. So they can be challenges. And sometimes if someone wasn't in great health towards the end of their life, their animal may not also have been getting real regular veterinary care. We just had one where all the teeth needed to be pulled because the dog's teeth were in really not so good shape. And they were in quite a bit of pain, but then they were happy, and then they were able to be adopted, and there was a good outcome to that story. There are also times where you didn't know about it and you were named to receive those animals. And now what do? How do you, maybe there is a gift or maybe there isn't a gift. How do you handle and how do you navigate that? This is not an easy scenario, but we are in the life-saving work and we brainstorm about what can we do. We also network with other organizations, and if your organization is not able to offer that type of a program, you can share some other resources. There's a great resource called Second Chance for Pets, which lists all different types of organizations that will provide care at after someone's lifetime for animals, specific breeds as well as your cat, dog, horse, etc. But it does require an internal conversation. What will you be willing to do to be able to, handle that type of request? Trish, did I miss anything?
I'll just sum up by saying I think one simply can only offer the services one has bandwidth for, and you shouldn't feel guilty about that. If you need to say, I'm so sorry, but that's a service we simply can't offer at this time, and then do that consistently. I think consistency is the most important thing, so that their community knows that you don't have one rule for some people and their pets and another rule for some people and other people. Does that make sense, Karen?
It does, Trish. Absolutely.
So Wendy, I did unmute you if you had any follow-up questions about all of those things that Karen just described. I don't know if you guys have what she described as far as a lifetime care program. Do you have any further follow-up questions to all the wonderful information she just gave that's relative to your particular situation? Okay, looks like we covered it.
Excellent, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about keeping those relationships going and why stewardship in this case, maintaining the relationship, being grateful and thanking folks is so important. And that's really because donors can change their mind. So if someone has told you that they've named your organization in the will, again, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's fantastic. Write it down. Let other people in your organization know. We may be talking to people today whose gift does not come to fruition for a number of years, and we really hope that is the case. But we may have retired. We may be in another organization. We want to make sure that continuity in our organization about that gift is in place, because people do change their mind. And if they don't feel like they're still important, they may say, oh, maybe I will change to this organization whom I feel like still remembers and recognizes me. So being able to thank people wherever possible and remembering that they can change their mind is critical to ensuring that these gifts stay in place. So let's pivot to some opportunities that we are so blessed to have with our marketing, because we have this amazing cuteness that we can feature. And I think in the just nature and idea of making planning a little bit more accessible and a little bit more fun, it's great to play on the concepts of willpower. Where there's a will, there's a way. Make it include the animals in your organization and the animals that you are serving. Make it fun. Profile donors who've done this so other people can see themselves in these type of gifts. And continue to use that cuteness. So here are a couple samples that Best Friends has put out trying to promote gifts in a will. We have also been encouraging people to reveal that they have made a gift. Nationally, less than 30% of people who leave an organization, name an organization in their will, actually tell that organization. So you're not going to know about all gifts in advance. But the more that you can know about those gifts in advance, the more opportunities you have to say thank you and to steward that donor. It may turn into a bigger gift. It may turn into a current gift where someone wants to see the impact while they're living. So we've been doing something that we call the reveal strategy, the reveal campaign. Are you a secret admirer? Have you made a gift to best friends in your will or your trust? As you can imagine, we do this in the Valentine's Day season, but then also in the fall, we've been doing, Are You My Superhero? Are you my lifesaver? Have you done this and just not told us? And if so, would you please let us know so we can say thank you? The other thing that I want to show, another fun creative marketing technique, this is from the Animal Welfare League of Arlington, just down the block from here. And they took some fun and creativity in their marketing. Pets need a rainy day fund too. You can provide when you name the Animal Welfare League of Arlington as the beneficiary of your IRA, 401k, or other financial plan. So super creative, catches their eye, makes them think about it, plants that seed when they may be going to make a change or an update or create their plan.
Karen, I'm so glad go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know that we have someone coming in just saying that these are great and wondering if they can have access to some of these things, kind of like the adoption promo kits that we give them, where they can just add their logo and contact information.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Why don't we take that back, Amy, and see if we can find out about creating a kit. I was sharing some of this material with Animal Welfare League, and this was what they came up with. So I encourage and invite everyone to borrow these concepts and ideas and customize it for your specific organization. But Amy, I'll look into if we can do something more drop-in type of creative.
Yeah, we would love that. We're trying to do templates for people wherever we can. So if we can make it happen, that would be awesome.
Excellent.
And I'll just add, back to what I was going to say before, is that in the meantime, those that do have the ability to move forward without looking at a template, you can deconstruct what the Animal Welfare League and what Karen does in a couple of simple steps. They came up with a great image. They came up with a header, and then they added sort of their content copy. And I've tested these on myself because I'm always looking at plan giving ads. So I've noticed that the picture draws me in, then I look up at the header, I chuckle a little, or it grabs my attention, and then if that's good enough, I'll be prompted, I'll be encouraged to read the copy. And what I particularly love about this one is you don't even have to get clever with the body copy. It's just a straightforward, you can provide this. And I love the emphasis on the you and the donor as opposed to we. So you can provide just that when you name XYZ. So I think it's great that you guys are going to look at doing some templates and drop-ins. But if you've got great images and that one header and then just standard language, you can get started.
Excellent. This next ad is the final goal of our Power Hour, and talking briefly about how gifts from an IRA can be an immediate benefit to your organization. So in addition to naming your organization as a beneficiary of an IRA, there is a fantastic provision that was passed into law. It's been about 2 years now, but people are really utilizing it a lot right now. And it's called a qualified charitable distribution. For donors who are required to take minimum distributions from their IRA, and that happens once someone has turned 70 and a half, they're required to take money out of their IRAs. For those donors, they can now make a direct transfer from their IRA to your organization. and they can transfer up to $100,000. They don't ever recognize that money as income. They never pay income taxes on it. And it's a wonderful way if they're saying, I really don't need this money out of my IRA. I don't want to take it into my finances. I want to give it directly to your organization. And most people calculate what they have to take out and they wait till the end of the year to do it. So this is a great time to talk to anybody who's older than 70 and a half, and plant the seed and suggest, would you consider making a qualified charitable distribution from your IRA directly to our organization? So that's this ad in a nutshell, but it's also the tip of the day for those of you who are working with donors who are over 70 years of age. It's a great way for them to make gifts and to realize some income tax savings in addition.
Karen, if our folks on the phone decided to do one thing and they decided to take this challenge and focus on this demographic and wanted to accept gifts like this, what would be their best next steps besides creating this cute ad and wonderful wording and header and all that stuff that Trish talked about, making sure that they know how to handle that when people contact and say, I do want to do that? What would be the click down of additional information that they would need to know, or that we might need to provide for them to take action on that?
Great question, Amy. And our team has prepared a one-page fact sheet about the qualified charitable distribution. The donor instructs their IRA administrator to transfer assets directly from their IRA to your organization. It usually comes in the form of a check, but I'd be happy to share that one-page fact sheet, and it can be reproduced, and provided to donors. So that's a very easy thing for us to do.
Okay, that would be awesome. We'll make sure that we include that in our resources from today's session. Thank you.
You're welcome. Trish, do you want to bring us on home with where we go next?
Uh-oh, did we lose Trish?
Uh-oh, let's see.
Yeah, I'm here. Now we
There
have a
she
moment
is.
cut out. Can you hear me? Excellent.
Yeah.
Karen gave us the why and the what, and this is our how. So with the resources coming after this will be a one-pager where Karen and I sat down and just said, at the simplest level, what would you have to decide? What would you have to create in order to get rolling with a planned giving program? So we just have 6 questions that you can ask yourself, and whatever the answers are, depending on your bandwidth and your organization. We have then 4 things that you can create, and the first one we already mentioned was that legal bequest language. None of them are onerous. And then sharing, we list the people that we think you should share with: board members, committee members, volunteers, staff, and supporters. And then, as Karen says, repeat, repeat, repeat. So I don't think we have time for me to walk you through those 6 and those 4, but they are on the tip sheet, and I'll open it up to say, Amy, if you get questions about that after the fact, please send those to me, and I'm happy to hop on the phone or email or whatever in order to help people think those through if they need some additional brainstorming.
Okay, we do have 2 additional minutes, so if we have any other questions, I want to make sure that you have a chance to chime in to our questions section and chat that away. If not, if nothing comes in the next minute or so, we just want to thank Trish and Karen so much for bringing this to us today, trying to break it down, to simplify, to demystify, take away those myths that maybe we had preconceived ideas about and I love the simplicity of this final slide, and we're excited to be able to send this one pager to you. The other thing that we're excited about is for everybody that's registered today for this webinar, we are going to pull a name out and provide for you a 1-hour opportunity to meet with Trish or Karen and let you talk through some of that you may have filled out in the form that we send you, or maybe you already have a planned giving program that you just want to refresh or ask some additional questions about with our expert. So we're excited to offer that as well. So look for an email that will come out tomorrow that has one page in it, and it will link the following. It will give you a recording of this session, and it will give you the resources that Karen and Trish have referred to, the one-pagers, and we'll look into a couple of those other things that came up in the session and try to include everything that we can. That will come via email. It will also be uploaded to our digital community so that you can have access to it there as well. And we thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day and week. Thanks so much for joining us.